Hi everyone, it's Tracey here from Art Fibre Stitch. I've been beach combing, looking for bits and pieces that are thrown up by the waves on the beach. I love using things like this in my art. I also like using flowers, I like using leaves, and I like using bark. All of these things with twigs, anything like that, I find and use. Here is my jelly plate. A few episodes ago you saw me making my own pretty papers. I'm going to use some of that as well, and we're going to make a collage. Here's some seaweed that I have pressed and dried, and here are some of the things that I did last week when I was playing around with it and thinking, what could I do with my seaweed? So let's get some clutter happening, and we'll see what we can come up with. This is a book that I've showed you before. I've done many videos on this. The cover itself was a video. Here's where I tried tissue paper stamp molding. And here, I think this is the first time I ever tried to stitch through a leaf. And I like this little paper art journal. It helps. That one says, nature inspires me. Here I've used a leaf and all kinds of bits of paper with it, and a twig, all kinds of things, a map. And once again, I have written something. Don't forget to stop and smell the flowers. So it's a way to try different techniques and to put them all in the one book. A bit of a brag book, but also a way to sort of focus your ideas. So I'm going to use a page here and we're going to make something. Now, last time I was speaking about this seaweed, I was saying I don't just see it as seaweed, I just see it as shapes. So it could easily be coral, or it could be trees, lots of different things, I think. So what I'm doing here is, this is a homemade banana paper, a Kozo paper. They're beautiful. They got embedded bits of those fibers from the plants in them. I'm going to use that as the background. This is an idea that I really started in the previous show, and I thought, yeah, I like that one best. I'm going to follow that through and do something with that. So I quite like the idea of using both pages. I like it when the design goes from one page and flows through into the next. So I'll muck around a little bit here. The paper I'm using on the in the book is a handmade paper as well. I just ripped that edge to make it a little bit more tattered. I might rip some more edges, but I just want to get a feel for it. And I have a border of that same paper over the other side. What I'm looking at here is a different bark to what I normally use. I normally have paper bark aplenty here in Australia. This is a different kind of bark. This is birch bark. So do look around at what kind of barks and weeds and all different natural materials you could use for your art. So I like it. I like the colour. I think I could have something like that in there. Here's a different one, a much harder, thicker bark that I can use as a folder, and I've popped little bits and pieces in there. Here's a piece of this birch bark, and see that little knot in it? That's where a branch came out. But I love this bark. You can peel it into thinner and thinner layers, and it just ends up like paper. Here's a different bark. I just grabbed a bit of all kinds of things. I think this one would split too, but I'm not going to go to the effort now. We'll just put it down and see what it looks like. Does it remind us of anything? Could be a big trunk disappearing. A big tree trunk. The other one looks like a tree. We're definitely heading in the tree direction, I think. Now let's have a look at this bark. I believe it still has some layers that can thin out. See? What fun. Yeah, I use it as paper. And sometimes I glue it, sometimes I stitch through it. I just really like it. Really like that natural edge there and that sort of fringing kind of look about it. I'm thinking maybe I could use that section. What could it be? It could be a hill or some grasses or perhaps a bunch of coral under the sea. Could be a lot of things. So I don't need to use the shape as I find it. I could cut a nice little edge on the top of that and make it make some areas cut away some pieces, you know, make it more like coral. And then I know I want to use my seaweed tree, and I've got my card there. Now the card will be very good. I'll be able to use it to glue things down thoroughly and to stitch through it even, and then I'll be able to just tape it down. You know, after I've stitched through it and glued it and done everything, I can hide all the bits from behind by maybe using some double-sided tape or something and attaching it to the page here in this paper collage journal. Alright, so here's my glue and my water. I just like using PVA glue, but you might have some other glue that you find is better. I thin it down with a little bit of water so it paints on a little bit easier. I don't want it too wet because, like I say, I think it's going to bubble this paper, but we'll just try it, just not do a lot on this left hand side. I'm also going to glue down that bit there, the one that looked, it's birch bark, and it did look like a bit of a tree. Well, it does come from a tree. Right, and on the other side, this is where we're going to be working on this card for stability, for a lot of reasons. So there we go. The first thing I'm doing is I'm popping down that beautiful Kozo paper, smoothing it out. I have this wonderful cutout. I'm just going to tear that bit off. It's a little bit long and I do like a rough raw edge, but I'll use those bits. I know I will. So once I've got it ready, I'm going to get this and pop some glue on the back. See if it works. If it doesn't, I can always use a thicker glue. And then I'm thinking, what else? Well, I do want to use those little bits that I tore off up the top. I think I'll just pop them down here. And I may even, see how it's just sort of obscures that edge a little bit. And I'm thinking I've got some really tiny little white bits of seaweed here. I'm just going to pop them down, maybe underneath a little bit of that paper. You'll see it underneath it and you'll probably see it poking up, but that's another way that you can add little natural bits in. Here I'm going to try it with this seaweed tree. Now I don't know how that's going to go. I'll just have to see. But you can see how it's going to be quite good to have more on that right side and it'll flow into that plainer side. So I'm going to start looking at bits and pieces that I might want. I could put loads of different things here from my seaside collection of stuff. I also want to use something on the top of that little hill or headland or whatever it is there. And I'll make it a little piece. I'm going to try this and just see if it will stick. I've got quite watered down glue, so it might not. It might need a thicker glue or a different glue, but I don't mind experimenting and seeing, you see. So that will go there on the right with whatever, and here I will try again to try all different things and see what I like. I'm looking for balance and a story. They all look so good. Oh, the glue is another matter though. We'll just have to experiment. I'm looking at this now and thinking that little bit of glue has almost, what's the word? Reconstituted that seaweed. It's getting more rubbery and less dry, so I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to place some plastic over it and then smooth it down and put a weight on it and leave that little bit for now. But at the same time, I'm thinking, what else can I use? And so I've started to look at those papers that I made just recently with my jelly plate. This one's a musical note, old book of musical note paper and sheet music. And it's got some lovely colours printed on with different natural materials. This one was a bit of a disaster, this paper, but I still think I could use something. Waste not, want not. I like to use all kinds of bits and pieces. I always find a use for something. So I'm just going to tear this little bit here off and start to use some of this. It's added a bit more depth. It's a bit darker than what we have. So I'm thinking that could be used. Now let's have a look and see where we could put it. We've got our little trees there. And I could be down there. It could be a rock. It could be up there. Don't know yet. I quite like that there. I like the way it adds a little bit of dark on that other side. Right now I'm looking at different things that are see-through. That's vellum. And different nets. And just different things that might be able to be used on top. That one there, that's an acetate sheet that has got alcohol ink dropped on it, and it's made beautiful colors. But you can see through it, and that's what I'm looking for. What can I trap underneath something that I can see through? Well, I'm trying it with that piece of paper underneath. I'm just looking at these edges now to see if they're sticking. But you see, I could put that on top of that. That could work. You know, I think what I'll do is I'll cut a little strip of this. It brings in a lovely bit of colour, some orange and some green. Really perks things up a little bit. So I'm just going to take a little strip of that and see. I think we might be onto something here. We will try it. We'll try that. Say I've got that piece of paper underneath and that on top. You can still see everything underneath. It's just sort of given it a different glossy overtone. So what else have I got? Well, that one there, that was the vellum. I don't think I'll bring that one in. But what I was looking at was that I could use different nets and things, which is especially useful when you're trying to hold things down that might not want to stay. See how you can see through it? So that's things that are sheer or see-through, or things that have holes in it, like net, etc. Here's a lovely bubbly paper. I love this paper. If I was doing an underwater scene, I'd be more likely to use it. But maybe not in this one. Here are two kinds of webbing. One's a thick one, and one's a very fine golden one. I'm just looking at it. See that one there? That might be just a little bit touched too far, but it would be a good thing for holding down different layers. But the gold, I really liked it. Where can we put this? Where is it going to sit best? You know, which balances it up more? We've got something darker down the bottom. If I put something up the top, that makes it a little bit more balanced. But what about that gold? Let's have a look here. It's a very fine mesh. I really like it. It's very wispy, slightly glittery, but not too much. It did look nice anywhere. I don't know if you're picking that up, but it really does have a lot of shine in different under different lighting circumstances. I wonder how that would be underneath that. Would you see it, especially on top of that dark leaf there? I think you might. So I'm just going to try that too. Everything gives you another idea, something else to try. That piece that I just put there underneath is quite long, so now I'm thinking it looks quite good to trail out onto the other side. See, that would look really nice. See, I'm really undecided. That's why I just keep playing. And this big thick mesh, well, that could work too, really could. But you know, at the end of the day, you just got to make a decision and stick with it. So we've cobbled together quite a few different things there. Oh, we will. And I'm just giving you a sneak peek now at how I go on in the next episode. And we finish it. I'm going to stitch. I'm going to draw. I'm going to add it into my paper art journal. And we'll see what happens. I just thought I might split it up now and give you a chance to find your own bits and pieces ready for part 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks again for watching. Don't forget you can always leave a gift through the PayPal link below. Thank you.